So I've been watching years in review of 2025 sets, and I thought, you know what, I would kind of make a tier list of the sets from this year and my opinions. I obviously mostly play standard, so it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna have that kind of standard lens to it. But I think I have some different opinions than others on what was actually a good set this year. Um, and I thought we'd just it'd be fun to kind of go through the sets, take a look, and see if there's anything we agree on, see if there's anything we disagree on. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first set we got of the year was Aether Drift. Aether Drift, I think, by most accounts, was a pretty poor set. It didn't have a ton of impact in standard. It wasn't. I think the limited was not super enjoyable. But I will say, as kind of Aether Drift aged, there has been some pretty powerful cards that have come out of Aether Drift. Cards I'm thinking of are obviously Stock Up, which was used pretty quickly after Aether Drift came out. Lumbering World Wagon saw some play. I think it's still a pretty strong card. You're seeing the Monument to Endurance see some play. I think Monument to Endurance is a really cool card, but for the most part, I feel like this set was it wasn't exactly what I think people wanted out of a kind of the lore of it. I don't think people really enjoyed the racing setting. It reminded me a little bit of OTJ, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, where there's some cool stuff, but for the most part, it's do we really care about doing this silly race? I don't even know. I don't read any of the lore of this, but the cards, I will say, just didn't look that cool. We got there are powerful cards. Mako as well. Mako is in this set. Mako is a really, really powerful card, but overall, I think the set really didn't have that many playable I shouldn't say playable, but meta defining cards, and I just didn't enjoy the set very much. I think I'm gonna have to put this as a C. It wasn't terrible, but it was probably one of my least favorite sets from the year. But overall, not bad. I would even push it up to B. It was kind of slightly below average, I would say. Let's keep it going. The next set I've got is Tarkir. So Tarkir came out right after Aether Drift, and I think people were pretty happy just going back to an old kind of going back to the original Tarkir. It was a nice set. I liked that there was a lot of three color kind of the different clans or whatever. I thought that was interesting. We had some pretty powerful cards. We had Corey Steelcutters from this set. We had maybe that's a negative on Tarkir, but we had Corey Steelcutters. We had Chico's in this, Meringue. For the most part, I think Tarkir was pretty powerful. It wasn't ridiculous. I think something that held Tarkir back was the fact that there was three colors. There's that 3-mana enchantment, the Sultai enchantment people play. I think there's a decent amount of cards. I wouldn't say it was crazy. I think Tarkir for me would actually be above average. So I think I'd put it above B, because it was a bit above average for me. But I think at the same time, Limited felt a bit. I felt like Limited, there was this kind of this dragon slop deck that you would play, where you just play all the dragons, and you'd just be 5 colors. But it was kind of cool. I did like that in Limited you could kind of play a 3-color deck. Every deck was a 3-color deck, and you could kind of do a cool thing. Versus usually Limited's only usually 2 colors, and maybe splashing a third. It really did feel like you were in like a 3-color deck. I'd have to give Tarkir A. Like I really enjoyed Tarkir. From a standard perspective, I felt like Shiko kind of spawned a new control deck. Jeskai Revelations I thought was a really, really cool card. I think I wish the power level was a little bit higher in Tarkir. But overall, I actually really did enjoy this set. That brings us to Final Fantasy. So Final Fantasy, I'm going to be honest with Final Fantasy. I think from a limited perspective, I really enjoyed this set. I played a lot of Final Fantasy Limited. I know I was watching DeFore, and he didn't particularly love the Final Fantasy Limited. But I enjoyed it. And the problem I have with Final Fantasy is like, I think there's a bit of like a rose-colored glasses on what it did for standard, because I don't think it had much impact on standard at all. And that's my biggest problem with Final Fantasy. I think the set was actually pretty underpowered. And I think so. The cards I can think of from Final Fantasy that were brought into standard were Vivi, which is very, very strong, but I think Vivi is an outlier. The other cards I can think of are Fenrir, I guess Fenrir a little bit, but what's the saga? Let me figure this out. The saga. It's Surveils 2. What is that card called? Summon Esper Maduin. I think that's the backside. That card was I think that card is very, very strong. That's like probably one of the strongest cards from the set outside of Vivi. But yeah, for the most part, like I just don't think Final Fantasy had that much of an impact on standard. I think actually of the sets of the year, I think Final Fantasy probably had some of the, I mean, okay, if we discount Vivi, like I think obviously Vivi was ridiculous, but most of the other Final Fantasy cards just didn't actually see that much play. Like I think the saga creatures were a cool thing, but I felt like they're always like tier 2 kind of thing, like except for the green one. The green saga is very, very good, but like the red one that gives things haste, that's awesome play. But again, I don't think that was ever like, it was played a little bit in the Delirium deck. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about Final Fantasy, but I definitely didn't think it really had that much of an impact. And other than Vivi, I gotta keep repeating myself because Vivi was insane. But outside of Vivi, I just don't think it actually did that much. And we didn't see a lot of the cards. And maybe part of that was because of the Vivi, to be fair. I'd have to put it, I think I'm going to put it B. I'm leaning towards A, but I think I'm just going to commit with the B here. And it was pretty average. I enjoyed the Limited a lot more than Aether Drift. But I actually think like some of the, for the art, it had Sephiroth. I don't know. There are some cool cards, but I'm gonna have to go with B. I think we're just gonna go with average on that. All right, let's go to the next set, and probably one of my, one of the sets that I think really, really grew on me was Edge of Eternities. I think I started off with this set. I played the Limited a little bit, and I didn't really love it. This is when it first came out. I thought it was kind of, I didn't really like the station mechanic, but I found like the warp mechanic, and actually the Limited was pretty awesome. Like I thought the Limited was pretty balanced. Like it felt like you could do a lot of things in Limited. I played a lot of Sealed, specifically with Edge of Eternities, and it really did feel like you could kind of be, you could go a lot of different ways. And when it comes to standard, Edge of Eternities probably had the most. It had a good amount of impact. We had Riddler, we had Ouroboros, we had Ice Till Explorer. There were some really, really cool, really cool cards in standard. I'd have to, I think this is an A or S tier for me, honestly. I think Edge of Eternity is probably one of the best sets, if not the best set this year. Um, it goes real high up on the list. I don't want to put like I don't really have too many gripes with Edge of Eternities. I think I wish they did a better job with like the station mechanic, made it a little bit more playable. It's just a little slow. Those lands, the lands that came out, I think I was really excited for the station lands, and they're just not playable outside of like, playing like Kona Omniscience and using it just to tap your Kona, right? It's just a way to tap your Kona. So I'm gonna put this S tier, but it's all relative, I think there's some sets that could come out in the next year that would easily surpass Edge of Eternities, but I really did enjoy the set. I enjoyed the limited. I enjoyed its impact on standard. I feel like the overall power level was pretty good. And it just was, I just think they did a really nice job at the set. I thought the art was really nice. Probably the coolest art of the year for me. Really nice. All right. So after Edge of Eternities comes Spider-Man. So we got the high of Edge of Eternities, and now we've got Spider-Man. Spider-Man was easily the worst set of the year. I mean, it is not even a question. So let's first things first. There's a lot of problems with Spider-Man, but the first problem was that you couldn't even play Spider-Man on online client. So if you're playing MTGA, you get to play Omen Path 1, and it's just not that interesting. No one knows what these cards are. There's nothing. They're just artwork, and they did the best they could with it. But it wasn't super inspiring, and the set itself was just kind of mid. Like, it wasn't very, there weren't any very interesting mechanics. I think the mechanics from the set were like web slinging and mayhem, and I'm sure there was others, but that's like the two I can remember. Mayhem saw absolutely zero play. Web slinging sorry, web slinging sees there's like one card that sees play that has web slinging. It's the 1 mana instant that or it's a 2 mana instant, but you can web sling it and pay 1 for you like counter instant or sorcery. Yeah, I think it's called Detect Intrusion. I don't know what the Spidey sense in paper. Yeah, the set was, the limited was bad. I played a little bit of the limited. It was like pick 2. I don't have even a problem with pick 2. What I have a problem with is, just the every game felt like it was just green-white versus green-white. You kind of drafted the same kind of deck every single time. I played very little Spider-Man, and I don't think the cards actually had I don't know. I think there are a few cards that had some impact on standard, but at the same time, I think, like, we got a good, Kavera was a solid like reanimator card. Getting the cast triggers of your reanimator targets is definitely very, very strong with Kavera. I think there's the amazing spider. I don't know what he is in paper. Kavera is the something Spider-Man. He's a Spider-Man of some sort. I don't know. That's the other thing. There was like 100 Spider-Man. Like I don't even know. It's impossible to keep the track of the names. I mean, the set was just I think just really poor overall, and it's gonna go to D. Like, if I could have it, this can just be Spider-Man tier. Right, let's just change this Spider-Man. This set was really poor. Let's put a little dash here. There we go. This set was, it was rough, and that brings us to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender, I was pretty excited for. I'd watched the show as a kid, and when the cards came out, I was also very excited. I thought, like, there's definitely some cool cards. I think they could, like, again, I think my one gripe with like Universes Beyond is how like legendary creature they're focused, and some of that kind of limits playability. and it kind of just limits like how you can build the deck. But I would say like Spider-Man had a ton of impact. The Lessons deck, pretty much making an entire new archetype from just one set, the Lessons. I hope they do that more often. I kind of like this. It's kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing to do, where you print an archetype and you play within that archetype, and that's kind of how it balances itself. And it keeps the game fresh, right? You have a whole new deck to play just from Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's the Bant Airbending deck. You had Badger Mole Cub. I thought the Limited was decent. The Limited was probably one of the weaker parts of Avatar. It's the cards are very powerful in Avatar, and because of that, because so many saw standard play, there is a lot of cards that just kind of win the game on the spot in Limited. It's just really, really powerful cards. And so, when you're playing Limited and you kind of get a bomb thrown on you, and you lose the game because of it, and none of your decisions mattered, that can feel pretty rough. But overall, I thought the set was really good. If I was just a Limited player, I'd probably rank it lower, but I think because, its impact, I'm really happy about its impact on Standard. I'm happy that it had, such a nice impact. I think the land, like the Ba Sing Se, Agna Kala, the blue one that lets you like discard, like both of those are pretty good. I'm actually really like Ba Sing Se land the green one is really, really good. I'm actually very impressed with that one. I think Earthbending was really cool. Airbending was awesome. Or firebending, waterbending was kind of cool. I don't know how, we'll see if that ever kind of works in Standard. It seems like it is a lot of permanence. I still want to like Secrets of Bloodbending and take my opponent's turns. I just, can't figure out how to make that work. But a lot of cool cards. I'm gonna have to put this in S tier. I think this was like my second favorite set. Maybe even beats out Edge of Eternities. I really liked Avatar. I felt like I think especially because we had a banning on VV, or we had the VV banning right before Avatar. The set just felt fresh, like it felt like the set actually made an impact on Standard. Edge of Eternities was like Riddler, not that there weren't strong cards from Edge of Eternities, it was just that VV was so strong that it kind of just kept everything down. And one of the cards that saw the most play in Edge of Eternities early on was the Riddler, and that was played in the VV deck. So I think this would be my final tier list here. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's kind of a fun thing to do at the end of the year. Take a look at the sets. I think I'll do this again because I enjoy just yapping. I hope you guys have a great New Year's, and I will see you in the next video.